All right, thrilled to be joined by Bryce Spalding to talk some Cincinnati Reds baseball as well on Tuesday. A lot happened across baseball, some interesting stuff for the Reds, and seems like we're getting into the point of the season where rumors were going to start flying fast and furious. Bryce, my friend, how you doing?
Doing great, doing great. Yeah, like you said, this kind of feels like the beginning of the offseason when we get the Rule 5 deadline, guys starting to be added to the 40, that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's exciting. It feels like obviously the winter meetings are coming up first part of December, so it's kind of transitioning into kind of full-blown offseason here. So, exciting stuff.
Well, as we're transitioning into the winter, I know Bryce as a guy. I'm always struggling to find gift ideas for the holidays, especially for like people like my dad, for my brother. But we have got holiday magic made easy for us dudes with Omaha Steak. If you place orders by 6 p.m. Eastern, they'll ship it the same day. And right now, they have their Sizzle All the Way sale. You can get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $35 off with promo code Chatterbox at checkouts. The steaks, they're absolutely incredible. Personally, I love the gourmet hot dogs, the apple tartlets, really great holiday treat. I recently ordered their festive gift plus free burgers package. I think that's the best one list, but there's all kinds of ones you can customize on there. So save big on gourmet gifts and more holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Sizzle All the Way sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code Chatterbox at checkout. Terms to apply. See site for details. That's omahasteaks.com, code Chatterbox. All right, well, the big news of the day on Tuesday was the Reds add 3 players to the 40-man roster to protect them from the Rule 5 draft. We'll run through all 3 of them, but the players added were Hector Rodriguez, Edwin Arroyo, and Leo Balcazar. Hector Rodriguez and Edwin Arroyo were pretty much shoo-ins. Leo Balcazar may be a guy that was 50-50. The Reds decided to err on the side of caution with Balcazar. But we'll start with Hector Rodriguez. The most exciting of the 3, at least at the moment, had certainly the best season in the minor leagues, reached AAA at the end of 2025. Maybe the most ready prospect that hasn't debuted for the Reds, unless I'm missing something, Bryce?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that he definitely has his flaws, but I think he's probably the one guy that you don't have to squint a whole lot to see him making a difference for the Reds at some point next year, whether that be in a small role or if he has to be thrown into a big role. I think he could be okay. He did struggle a little bit when he got to AAA, but his type of approach, he's going to have ebbs and flows with his offensive game at times. So not overly concerned about that. He'll obviously head to AAA to start the year, as long as everything goes to plan in spring training and everybody stays healthy and that sort of thing. But good to see him be added. He's definitely a prospect that it's cool to see him get to this point. I mean, he was a guy that we acquired. He was in the complex league with the Mets whenever we traded for him for Naquin, and then his rise has been awesome to keep up with, and really happy for him.
Hector Rodriguez, the poster child of every trade you make matters. And when you're a team that needs to be a seller, you need to sell every piece you can. You just don't need to say, well, Tyler Naquin, what does it matter if we trade him or not? He's not going to fetch anything big. Well, boy, did he fetch something big. And a team like the Mets, look, they can afford to make a stupid trade, which was an absolutely asinine trade from them. One that I'm sure their fans give them grief for, but they can make up for it. The Reds, with the budget that Nick Krall has given, clearly cannot make up for it. So a great trade for the Reds. A guy that Tito, I think, will love because he has a very low strikeout rate. Career, I don't have the career, but he was only 15% last year in the minor leagues. That would be like near the top of the Reds. That's actually better than TJ Friedl for some context. So a guy that I think is all the reason in the world to be excited about. All the reason to believe that he could have some sort of impact in 2026. But I'll ask you this, Bryce, and as I've said this before, I think we should be very excited about this guy. But I think that people that think he's right now is like better than a guy like Will Benson are probably mistaken.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely has some growing to do. He's still so young. I mean, he's 21, 22 years old. I think he's going to have to grow into his approach a little bit. He's very, very, very aggressive, which is fine. You could be aggressive if you don't swing and miss a lot like he doesn't, but it can get exposed at times. And we've seen that with different guys that have come up. CES, most recently, he swings and miss more than Hector, but has that similar type swinging approach to where he's getting up there ready to hit. Like he's not, doesn't see a whole lot of pitches in or out of the zone that he doesn't like. So if he can refine that approach a little bit and then continue to grow into his game power, I think we'll see him a little bit more. But yeah, he's not a guy that the Reds should be counting on or going to be counting on going into 2026.
He did hit 19 home runs. That's encouraging, especially as he played a large portion of the season in the Southern League, which is notably tough to hit home
Mm-hmm.
runs. Had a low batting average on balls in play, only 305. So there was nothing fluky about his season. Ended up with a 118 WRC plus overall. But a little bit of context: the 15% strikeout for the season. The only two Reds that were lower than that was Jose Trevino and former Red now, Santiago Espinal. But Gavin Lux, a guy known for his incredible plate discipline, 22.7%. Not a knock on Gavin Lux, but just like some context. Like that's not something you see with a lot of players. And I would expect it to go up in the big leagues, but certainly something that I know that the Reds are going to love. And there's good reason to love that part of his game for sure. Moving on to Edwin Arroyo, probably maybe Bryce, the most controversial prospect. Maybe him and Cam Collier, if you're talking to people about where they might try to fit him in on a prospect
Mm-hmm.
list. A guy that I know we all fell in love with when he was traded for Luis. It was part of the return for Luis Castillo. I'll never forget 2024 spring training lit the world on fire. I mean, he was looking incredible in spring training. I think we were all getting hyped about him. And then he just had that unfortunate injury that sidelined him all of 2024. And then I think played a part of his 2025 season. Had some ups and downs, finished the year strong at AA. A guy that I still believe could be a big league player. I don't know if he's a big league starter. That's the question. I believe he's a big leaguer at some point. I just don't know if he'll ever slide into a big league starting role, but a no-brainer in my opinion. You have to protect him because I think, and yes, his defense has a high ceiling, but he does have flaws right now too. He does need to improve defensively, but he's clearly, I think, a player that you could hide on a big league roster in 2026.
Yeah, definitely. And his year did go a little underrated last year at Chattanooga. I mean, he hit 284, 345 OBP. And I think a lot of people do forget he was coming off that shoulder injury like you talked about. So doing that in a tough league to hit on top of your shoulder injury and kind of getting back to it, that's really encouraging. So I think his just raw skills and baseball acumen, you could say, or whatever you want to talk about, he just kind of has it. Like people talk about it, like people raved about it in spring training, like you talked about. Just kind of the way he was around the game. He feels like he knows the game really well. He feels like he's like a polished veteran. Kind of how he handles himself. So those are things that you look for, obviously. And he's a shortstop. He's going to stick at shortstop. 99% chance of that. So yeah, like you said, he definitely has some things he can clean up. I want him to get a little bit stronger. I want him to maybe a year out of that shoulder injury, kind of start driving the ball a little bit more. So yeah, I'm excited for him. Like you said, no brainer. He was definitely going to be a guy that was going to be picked up if he wasn't added. So Reds definitely aren't going to risk anything with Edwin Arroyo because I think they're still very, very high on him.
Post All-Star break had a 117 WRC plus, 301 average, 361 on base percentage. So definitely got better as the year went on. Be a big year for him in 2026. I don't think it's crazy to think that he couldn't sneak his way onto the roster late in the year if there was injuries and things broke his way, and he performs well. So certainly a player to watch. Some reason to be skeptical, but I think there's too many people that have given up on him. That's maybe my biggest takeaway from Edwin Arroyo. Then Leo Balcazar. Leo Balcazar had a really incredible Arizona Fall League. Was on fire to start. Did cool off. but ended up did have 2 hits in the championship game. A player the Reds decided, I feel very confident they sent him to the Arizona Fall League, and part of it was we want to see how he performs, and that was going to help us make a decision. I think they felt like he made enough of a splash to where they weren't going to risk him possibly getting picked up. A guy that would have been a little harder to stash, I think, than Edwin Arroyo, but a guy that a team could have stashed, and the Reds not taking a risk.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, I think they probably got some feedback too from different scouts and people out there that were like, man, like he has the goods to be a big league player, and that they were probably like, there's no reason to even risk it. Like they've got plenty of room on their 40-man roster to hold a guy like Balcazar, to where there's just no reason to do that. So yeah, like you said, he made 277, 340 OBP in the fall league. Had a really nice cameo in Double-A as well. So I don't know where he'll land. He'll probably go back to Double-A if I had to guess, with Arroyo probably being in Triple-A. So they both can play short. So we'll see how they handle it. He's also another guy that last year he was coming off that ACL injury and didn't really have anything prior to that in 2024. So yeah, it was good to see him have a good year overall between 2 levels, and then kind of finish out the year strong in the fall league. So another young guy, good tools. I've kind of been a big Balcazar guy for a while. I think he's a good player. I think he has a lot of different good redeeming qualities that you want out of a middle infield type player.
Showed the most power we've seen. He hit 12 home runs. His previous minor league career high was 6, so doubled that. So be interesting to see if maybe he's tapped into that a little bit more, and can show a little bit more of that. But yeah, nonetheless, those are the guys that are added. Now let's talk about the guys who weren't added, who the Reds risked. I don't know how many of these guys could possibly be in the camp of being picked up, but we have Jay Allen the second, Easton Sikorsky, Hunter Parks, Joel Valdez, Jose Acuna, Javi Rivera, Anier Laureano, Carlos Jorge, and Yerlin Confinon. Bryce, of that list, who would be maybe the most likely to get picked up?
Yeah, it's tough. Probably Joel Valdez, honestly. That was a name that I thought definitely had the potential to be added. He had a really nice year, left-handed arm. Everybody could utilize a left-handed arm at some point. He throws pretty hard, got good stuff, commands the ball well. I think he finished the year in Louisville. I can't remember exactly, but he had a really good year last year. That is actually a Rule 5 guy, the minor league Rule 5 draft from the Yankees last year. So I don't expect him to get picked up, but that's the type of guy that does get picked in the Rule 5 draft. That the guy that a lot of teams can hide on a back end of a bullpen, a left-handed arm, maybe get a couple outs here and there every once in a while. So if there's anybody among that list, it's definitely him. Another guy that was added earlier is Jose Franco, which he definitely would have been picked up as well. So it was good they added him to the 40 already. So essentially they added 4 guys that were Rule 5
point.
eligible, and he's one that they protected. But yeah, Valdez definitely is one to keep an eye on. I could see him getting picked up.
It would have been just an easy, just being a reliever, wouldn't have been put him in an unfamiliar role or anything. Jose Acuna, I know he's had a lot of injuries. That's probably maybe why the Reds think they don't have to worry about him. He's a talented pitcher who is a starter who reached, did he reach AAA and actually got demoted at one point last year, I think, if I remember right.
He really struggled once he got to AAA. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, again, I don't see any of these guys that I'm super worried about. Carlos Jorge, I know our friend Reds in 4 thought the Colorado Rockies should take a shot on him and stick him out in center field. He's incredibly fast. One of my favorite in terms of likability of prospects. I just love him. He's such a fun guy to watch. And then Easton Sikorsky, I don't know a ton about him and his whole arsenal. Had an incredible minor league season last year as a Reds reliever. I don't know if he has that stuff type that teams will be looking for. But those are the ones. Hunter Parks walked the world in the Arizona Fall League. I don't think you have to worry about that. And then Yerlin Confinon, a guy that was the StatCast darling coming into 2025, had a really disappointing year at Dayton, as did a lot of players at Dayton.
Yeah. In terms of tools, there's a lot of tools in that basket there in those guys, but um, unfortunately, you can't combine those guys into one player. So I don't think we're worried too much about those guys.
All right. Well, the move to get those players on the 40-man roster, Carson Spiers was DFA'd. Pretty surprising to a lot of people. Probably, I would say, tells you a lot about where the Reds believe Carson Spiers is at in terms of his recovery. Coming back off Tommy John surgery, expected to miss a decent chunk of 2026. I couldn't find any clarity on when exactly they thought he'd be back. My takeaway here, Bryce, is the Reds feel pretty confident that they can sneak him through waivers when everyone else is in the same roster crunch that the Reds are in right now.
Yeah, for sure. It does definitely feel like that. And I think it kind of gives them some, they feel good about Louder as well and his health. So I don't think that obviously Spires isn't going to factor in next year, but just having the depth of a guy that's had big league success. We've seen Spires throw some really quality innings for the Reds over the years. So, yeah, would hate to lose him. I think the factor of him being out the whole year and having to make it to February on a 40-man roster is probably unlikely. So I'm hopeful that nobody claims him when we can just bring him back on a minor league deal and he can kind of stay within the organization there, because I think the Reds have done right by him. He was a undrafted free agent, has kind of made his way up into the system and earned a lot of respect from fans and people in the organization alike.
Yeah, didn't really throw a ton in the minors, only pitched in
Mhm.
95 minor league games, kind of was rushed to the big leagues in some respect. Because in 2023, the Reds pitching, I don't know if people remember, it was dire when he came up and made some spot starts, and I think the Reds used him in some different ways. So never really got the full um, fair path to the big leagues. But a guy that I've just loved, I've loved rooting for, is 28 years old too. So if the Reds did lose him, guy that's 28 years old coming off Tommy John surgery, yes, it would stink, but I think it's, you can understand why the Reds are taking the risk here, and we'll see over the next few days if someone picks him up. And if someone picks him up, then the Reds probably, I would definitely say if someone picks him up, the Reds made a mistake here, just because they do have other guys on the 40-man roster that are not going to survive this offseason, because the Reds, I assume, are going to add a few more players here at some point.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. All right. We got plenty more to talk about, but first, let's have a quick word from our sponsors. Deep South Commodities is a proud supporter of Chatterbox Reds and our Deep Drive of the Day, and DSC is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thanks as always to our friends at DSC. And we also want to remind you that you can call or text 988 anytime, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a place to get support for anything related to mental health. Whether it's an immediate crisis, simply wanting to find out how to connect with care, or anything in between, it's a 100% confidential, secure, and anonymous way to reach out for help when you don't know where else to turn. To connect, call or text 988 or visit mantherapy.org to get help. It's okay not to be okay. All right, well, the Reds affiliate in the Arizona Fall League, the Peoria Javelinos, whatever they are. Peoria, they lost in the Arizona Fall League championship game last week. It was a pretty fun run, especially the semifinal game when Alfredo Duno hit 3 home runs in the semifinal game. We'll talk about we'd already talked about Leo Balcazar. Cam Collier had a okay Arizona Fall League, some ups and downs. Trevor Kunsel had a really good Arizona Fall League, a pitcher that I really love, that I'm excited about. Fortunately, he took the loss in the championship game, actually gave up 5 runs. But he had pitched so much throughout the whole year, his first professional season. But I want to talk a second, Bryce, about Alfredo Duno, who certainly, if his name wasn't on the map, it was after hitting 3 home runs in an Arizona Fall League game. Bryce, this is kind of where I'm at with Alfredo Duno. I was really excited about Alfredo Duno because he could be a catcher, and obviously a catcher that can hit, that has power. That's such an incredible value. I've now reached the point where the Alfredo Duno catcher is like, wow, that's like a legitimate all-star caliber player. But I think Duno has shown enough to where even if he can't stick a catcher, which you want to do everything you can to make him stick a catcher, it feels like at this point, he's maybe the Reds' best hitting prospect on its own if you take South Stewart out of it, because he's already reached the big leagues.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, it's unquestionable in my opinion. I think in terms of just pure like hitting talent and ability, he's far and away in my opinion. I mean, obviously he hasn't played over Daytona, so it's hard to say too much, but I mean, he's just been so good. Last year, 948 OPS, and in the that league is just unheard of. You don't do that, especially at 19 years old. It's special stuff and special. He's a special hitter. 32 doubles, 2 triples, 18 homers, like more walks than strikeouts. It's just like you go through all the stuff that he's done. It's like those accolades and those numbers are guys that are like you said, perennial all stars in big leagues and what they did. So I think in terms of his floor, it's starting to become so much more present of like, okay, here's this guy. He's got this outstanding plate discipline. He doesn't strike out a lot. He hits for power. Like the ceiling is kind of like untapped. Like it almost feels like when Ellie was coming up, you're like, what can this guy be? Like, can he be the best catcher in baseball? Like, can he be a perennial all star? Can he be the guy that kind of gets the Reds out of this rut of like they haven't had this great catcher in so long? And so it's exciting to dream on. And like you said, like he has such a good fallback option because the bat is so good. And I think the DH, that's where the Reds may have to use it to their favor when he gets to that point. It's like, okay, we can't. This guy has got to be in a lineup 150, 160 games. Like he's not going to be a guy that you can just sit out and for 30, 35, 40 games a year. So even if he does stick at catcher, that's great. If he catch 100 games, 120 games a year, and then be the Reds DH or first baseman from there. So it's so exciting. I love watching him hit. I think he's in terms of like approach and skill and just swing. He's one of my favorite swings to watch and diagnose kind of day to day, pitch to pitch. He's so disciplined, so good.
430 on base percentage while hitting 18 home runs in, is it the most difficult minor league environment? If not, it's up there.
Yeah,
No
for
one
sure.
hits well in the Florida State League. And the Arizona Fall League, like he got there at 19 years old, one of the youngest players there. He didn't hit well, but he still was drawing a ton of walks. Like his plate discipline for being 19 years old is unbelievable. To me, just as like a hitter, he's like CES with plate discipline. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's what like with elite plate discipline, like the exact opposite of CES. So the interesting thing here, Bryce, in my opinion, is how patient are the Reds going to be with Duno? Because his bat is going to be able to reach the big leagues a lot faster than his glove. Like we remember with Tyler Stevenson, it took Tyler Stevenson a long time to reach the big leagues. I know people were getting impatient, and it was because of the glove. Like the bat made it to was ready for the big leagues. In fact, they had him play in 2020. You might remember as basically a DH. So I don't think he ever caught at all. And with Duno, you might be able to get into the big leagues as soon as next year as a hitter. I don't think you're going to get into the big leagues next year as a catcher unless there's some massive strides. So it'll be interesting to see how patient the Reds are.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think too, you've seen it a lot. The Reds are really patient when guys are teenagers. Like, I mean, he's 18, 19 years old right now. So like, I don't think it was overly surprising to see him repeat Daytona. I wouldn't be shocked if next year we look up and he's in Chattanooga midseason. And then who knows from there? I mean, that they could get very aggressive with him once he gets to Chattanooga and if he's doing well or whatnot there. But I think Dayton's obviously a good test early in the year. It'll be cold. It'll be uh, he'll have to adjust to that environment some as well, and that's a big jump to high A. So we'll see how he does there. But yeah, I think like you said, the bat is going to be well ahead of everything else early on, and I think people were a little frustrated with how they handled him this year, but Daytona was winning. They were kind of in the playoff hunt. So I think they wanted him to experience that. And then also it's just like, what's the difference in him really like playing in Dayton for 30 games as they're getting their teeth kicked in pretty much every night. So, they went on a winning streak, but
They
it
weren't
definitely
expecting that. No
no,
one in that organization was expecting that.
yeah. So I'm excited to see. I think in terms of just pure prospects, obviously, I think this is probably the most excited I've been about a guy since Ellie. Like, just what can he be? But yeah, it's really exciting. I'm excited for him.
Yeah, he's like that Ellie, Hunter Greene, Chase Burns, like
Yeah,
pedigree for me right now. So yeah, and you mentioned, the cold weather. That's the one thing I didn't really realize until I kind of dived into this a little bit more and started talking to people in the know is like, the players from like the Dominican and from Venezuela, like you don't realize how difficult it is for them to go from Daytona to Dayton in
yeah,
April. Like they don't, and I mean, it's not just Dayton, like they have cities up in Michigan. Like, 'cause
yeah,
there's some really, really cold cities in April. It is a big adjustment for them. So it'll be interesting to see how he's able to adjust to that because he hasn't played anywhere cold. I mean,
yeah,
Arizona Fall League, Arizona Complex, the Dominican Summer League, and Florida. So it is a big jump and something they have to learn and adjust to. So always good to give those guys some grace. The
yeah.
first 2 months they've reached Dayton.
Yeah, I remember watching Ellie in Dayton. He was like full bodysuit
Yeah.
every game. It was like you could barely see his face. He was just out there at shortstop hitting balls 500 feet in Dayton.
It's like the equivalent of us trying to go play like baseball up in Alaska, probably. Like,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
like
Yeah,
for those guys. So, but Alfredo Duno, oh man, it's we gotta be patient. We have to be patient. We have to be patient. I I don't want the Reds to rush him to the big leagues just because the whole package has a chance to be top 15, 20 player in the sport. Like, I
yeah,
don't think that's insane to say. So, but it's hard to see he's not going to be a top 15, 20 player in the sport if he's a DH.
right. Yeah,
Maybe a top 100 if everything went perfectly well. So, but yeah, certainly a player to watch. All right. Andrew Abbott did receive one fourth place vote and two fifth place votes, finished eighth in the NL Cy Young Award voting. So shout out to Andrew Abbott. Very well deserving, an incredible year. I think I would probably give him the Reds team MVP. And then Ellie De La Cruz, 10th place vote. Did he come from Pittsburgh? Was that right?
yeah, Pittsburgh. Yeah.
From Pittsburgh. Shout out Pittsburgh. Giving Ellie the vote. Any takeaways from that, Bryce?
No, yeah, like you said, Abbott deserved that. He definitely pitched well enough to be in that consideration all year. I mean, even with him struggling a little bit later in the year, he was still awesome all season. I mean, he was up there at like I think he had like a 5.5, 5.6 B WAR. So I like using that for pitchers because it kind of rewards results over non-results. So I think he's earned the nod, and he's like, hopefully he continues to build on what he did this year, throwing 160 plus innings.
Yeah, his peripheral numbers were by far the best of his career. Took a big leap there. So, but he's also kind of reached the point where he's outpitched his peripherals for so long. You kind of have
Yeah.
to start to, adjust to that. But I mean, his peripheral numbers were massively. He went from a FIP of 5.04 to 3.66, and a 3.66 FIP is very good.
Yeah.
That's one of those stats that's harder to trick. So, like if you have a mid threes FIP, it's more impressive than a mid threes ERA to me because you can't trick that stat is how I look at it. So Andrew Abbott completely changed my entire perception of him with what he
Hmm.
did in 2025. And he's a guy that at this point, especially with where the Reds are with their budget and all that, you can't trade him at this point unless someone gave you he's still he's a cheap superstar, and the Reds need as many of those as they can possibly get right now. Tejay Antone re-signed a minor league deal with the Reds after being released earlier this offseason. I know we're all huge Tejay Antone fans. One of the most just courageous stories for him just to keep grinding after just brutal injury after brutal injury. A guy that I'm just so glad he stays around in the Reds organization, more so than maybe his pitching again. I just like him. I legitimately love him being around these minor leaguers coming up, and I'm hoping that the Reds can find a way to let's go ahead and sign some sort of organizational deal that when your career's over, you're going to be a coach or a broadcaster or something. Keep this guy in the organization because he's everything you love about baseball.
Yeah, he's a grinder, man. He definitely loves the game. You can see it all the time on his Instagram story. He's like already working with kids and in a facility, working on throwing harder, getting stronger. He definitely feels like a guy that we're going to look up, and he's going to be DJ's right hand man in 5, 6, 7 years, whatever that be. So hopefully they're both around long enough, and the Reds make some good decisions, like you said, keep him around. So seems like a great guy. Hope like hell he can get back to the big leagues and pitch on a big league mound again soon.
All right, right before we were about to hit record here, Bryce, big trade happened across baseball. The Baltimore Orioles sent Grayson Rodriguez to the Los Angeles Angels for Taylor Ward. Taylor Ward was certainly a name that's been on Reds fans' minds for years. I think everyone thought the Angels will trade him, and they never traded him. And then he went to his final year left, and the Angels trade him. And as soon as this trade happens, I got a text. Nick Kral's asleep at the wheel. Bryce, I don't think this is a trade the Reds should be making unless Grayson Rodriguez has way less value than I think, because I look at this and think the Reds would have had to have at least given up Rhett Lauder, probably more.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's not a deal that the Reds should be in the market for. I mean, like Ward's going to make 12 to 14 million this year in arbitration. Like, he's a good player. He would help the Reds tremendously. But like, they can find a way to upgrade the offense without making it that big of a dent. Like, before we got on air, I said like this would be like the Reds trading Lodolo last year, with 4 years remaining and coming off a down year to where he wasn't great. Like, imagine how Reds fans would have reacted if Nick Lodolo had the year he had this year, and what if G-Rod does that next year, and the Orioles are like, well, why did we just trade that guy for 1 year of Taylor Ward? Like, yeah, it's a good deal. Taylor Ward hit 37 home runs or whatever he did. He's going to probably do something similar again for the Orioles, but 4 years of a controllable starter who has front line upside as a guy, just it's hard to rationalize why the Orioles think that would be a good move for them.
The Orioles, I think they need pitching too. Like, wasn't that their problem last year? So I don't know. Maybe I'm cautious to just say the Angels fleece someone because we have not seen that organization do a whole lot of fleecing. It's usually been the other way around. But I don't think it makes any sense for the Reds. I mean, that would have, if you acquired Taylor Ward, that would have been almost your whole budget that you had to spend. Like, if it was Ward for Lauder, was Lauder's not making anything. The Reds have 15 to 20 million. Well, there's 14 of that 20 million is spent. Your rotation just got worse because Lauder is a massive piece of the starting pitching, not just rotation, but depth. So you would have lost that. And I already think the Reds are at best okay with starting pitching depth. I don't think they're in a great spot. I don't think they're anywhere close to as good of a spot as they were at points last year. And you get 1 year of Taylor Ward. 1 year, that's it. Yeah, I that's just not the kind of moves that a team that is only going to get the budget the Reds have. You have to have cheap players, and you can't give away guys like Rhett Lauder for short-term gains. That's how you get back to rebuilding, in my opinion.
Yep, for sure.
Well, there was a lot of players that were DFA'd across Major League Baseball, in addition to Carson Spiers, as the Rule 5 deadline hit. A couple of the notables: J.J. Bleday, Christopher Morel, Jake Fraley, Frankie Montes, Dory Moretta, and is it Caleb Holderman? Is that his first name?
Colin, I think, yeah.
Holderman from the Pirates, a reliever. Yeah. I expect we'll probably see more guys get DFA'd this week as the non-tender deadline is also coming up in a couple of days. But any of those players, Bryce, that you think you'd be interested in?
Yeah, I mentioned Bleday initially. I mean, he's got one option left as well. He last year not this past season, but the year before that. He had a 120 WRC plus. I don't fault anybody for having a down year with all of what Sacramento dealt with this year. They kind of had a couple guys that had some weird down years overall. So I think that he's a good player. I mean, in terms of the Reds' outfield depth, I think he fits in really well there. He's left-handed. They don't have a ton of that. He hits the ball hard, barrels the ball well, kind of has a pretty good prospect kind of background there. So he's a guy I'm definitely interested in. Holderman and Moretta, honestly, are guys that I would take a chance on. And I know Holderman had a really bad year last year, but year before that, he had a 3.16 ERA over 51 innings. Year before that, 3.86 ERA over 56 innings. He definitely feels like a guy that DJ could work some magic with. And obviously, Reds fans know Moretta. He's been in the Reds organization for a number of years, and then went to the Pirates and pitched really well there. So little odd there. Honestly, I'm not sure why they DFA'd him. I know he didn't have a great year last year, but definitely a guy I would love to bring back and see what we can do with him.
Yeah, I'm definitely intrigued on Blade. If for anything else, I look at his expected home runs and I see 2024 31 if he played his home games at Great American Ballpark, a guy that you could be picking up for not a whole lot. Did you know his arbitration estimate? Did you have that by chance?
I can grab it really
I don't
quick.
think I can't imagine it's that crazy.
No.
But yeah, definitely guy. Both of those Pirates pitchers, Moretta and Holderman, certainly guys that I would be interested. The Pirates bullpen was incredible. Their whole pitching was incredible last year. So those are the kind of guys the Reds could take shots on. And you know what? I wouldn't be opposed to. I don't know how long Frankie Montas is going to be out next year. I think he's going to be out they've actually knocked him out for all of 2026. But let's go ahead and talk about 2027, Bryce. I would love to go and take a flyer on Frankie Montas on a like a $1 million deal with maybe some incentives. Go ahead and fire me up. I liked him. He seemed to really like playing for the Reds, and you can never have too much starting pitching depth.
Yeah, you can't. That's for sure. Yeah, I mean, he's making $17 million this year, so good on Frankie. He's definitely going to enjoy that money while he's rehabbing there.
Yeah. Okay, where are we at here? Arbitration estimates, 2.2 million. That's not a whole lot for JJ Bleday. Yeah, that's the kind of player to take a shot on. What do you have to lose? Yeah, I'm really surprised the Angels gave up on a first round pick that quick. That just 2 years ago had a good year. So
Yeah, really good year. I mean, that's 120 WRC plus. Already hit 20 home runs and 60 RBIs. I mean, that's a really good year. 3.2 WAR. That's shocking to just kind of throw him to the side like that.
yeah, and I know his fielding metrics weren't great. I think he played the bulk of his games in center field. Again, he did play in a weird ballpark, as you mentioned. Looks like better numbers, although still not great in the corners. I wonder, a guy that has a good arm, I wonder, like a Great American Ballpark, I think he could probably put up close to at least league average numbers defensively in maybe one of the corner spots. So yeah, I would certainly be all about that. Another player, Bryce, I know we've talked about before on the show, but we haven't asked you about, and it maybe could have some legs because the Rangers reported they are trying to trade Adolis García before the non-tender deadline, which is coming up on November 21st. So if you're keeping track, that is Friday of this week. I would be all about Adolis García, assuming it's basically a salary dump type contract. Maybe you're just giving up a flyer back for him. He's the kind of player that I look at that has the upside to be not Kyle Schwarber, but what's below that. Everything has to go right for him in terms of, him kind of getting back to form, recovering back from some injuries. But there's not a lot of players with the upside, in my opinion, of Adolis García that you could pick up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're talking when he was really going, I mean, 31, 27, 39, 25 homers. So, I mean, the power is ridiculous, undeniable. And honestly, for a guy with his power, he doesn't strike out as much as you think. I mean, 24% strikeout rate, something like that. Obviously, didn't have the best luck with balls in play the last few years. But yeah, I think that he's a guy that even if the Rangers don't even throw you anything back, I think his art projection is like 12 million or something like that. So obviously a little expensive, but a guy that if you're able to maybe throw a couple bucks our way and we can throw a little bit better prospect back, I think that's something that they could consider and definitely take a chance on, because I'd love to see how far you could hit one in Great American in July, because I'm sure it could go a long, long way.
55 expected home runs in 2023 if he played at Great America Ballpark. Last year's haven't been as good, but still 37 in 2024, dropped down to 23 and more limited playing time. He played 135 games in 2025. But yeah, I mean, he was still a 2.7 B WAR player with a sub 600 OPS. I don't know, how did that even happen? I don't really know how that calculated, unless I'm looking at something weird here. But certainly a player. I just think this is the kind of guy. If you're not giving up, and maybe he would have to give way more than I think. Maybe they're expecting, like, maybe they look at that Taylor Ward deal and they go, hey, you know what? We can get more
Never
for
mind
Adolis
on that.
Garcia. But if it's kind of what I think, I would be all about it. I think that'd be a good way to spend your money on a real lottery ticket, not a, with all due respect, to like Austin Hayes. Like Austin Hayes, I think was a good signing. Adolis Garcia has a chance to be a massive impact bat, not just a nice bat that helps you.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, the underlying numbers still look good too. I mean, 46.7% hard hit rate, 11.6 barrel percentage. Like, those would be some of the best on the Reds, even with a down year overall numbers wise. I mean, I think he could get a real boost from playing a little bit more freed up, maybe in Cincinnati, and hitting the ball just everywhere without it being an out.
Nothing I love more too than a guy playing a Great America Ballpark in a free agent year.
Yep,
That
bingo.
always has a chance to go well. Speaking of guys we would all love, I assume, Bryce, you are on the I would love Kyle Schwarber train. Like, I don't think there's anyone that's against Kyle Schwarber. But the Pittsburgh Pirates are reportedly interested in Kyle Schwarber, according to Jeff Passan. I know Reds fans loved hearing that. Passan also reported, this was maybe the more shocking thing than just like kicking the tires with Schwarber. The Pirates apparently offered Josh Naylor more than $78 million before he re-signed with the Mariners. I was a little surprised. Not just that they would offer Naylor, but they would offer him that much guaranteed money into the future. I could see the Pirates going out and throwing $20 million at a player for like a 1-year deal. I just didn't see them, making any long-term commitments. But we've talked before, the Pirates, they were rumored to have $30 to $40 million to spend, which I know makes people mad because the Reds are 15 to 20. I should point out the Reds are currently estimated at 97.3 million. The Pirates are only estimated at 61.3. So even if both teams spent to the max of what they said they possibly could, the Reds still have a higher payroll. But I don't know. It's interesting. The Pirates, I don't know, Bryce, they're a team that, like, I've been, hey, I tell you, this team, I think we're sleeping on them. And then every year I don't want to say they let me down because I'm not rooting for them, but every year they let down what I think they can be.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's weird though, because like they feel so similar. Like the Reds and the Pirates do feel very similar. Like the big difference is like the Pirates don't have Ellie and the Pirates don't have, like, I don't know. They're just, their offense isn't as good as the Reds, which is like, you say that out loud, you're like, well, that means they're really bad. You're like, yeah, they're not very good. But yeah, it's interesting, man. I mean, obviously you've got Skeens and Keller, and you got Ashcraft and Chandler coming up. They got really good arms, like big time arms. So if they do get a wild hair up their ass and go spend a bunch of money, then you're like, well, they could be pretty good, because if they do go get a couple kind of impact guys, I know they're rumored with those the Japanese guys coming over as well. Those could be interesting because there's those guys can really hit. So it is. It's not scary. I'm never going to be scared of the Pittsburgh Pirates, but like it does kind of throw a wrinkle out there. Like, okay, if the Pirates are good, like it makes the division even more tough because they're already tough out because you got Skeens, and if you match up with any of those 3-4 guys in a series, you're like it's going to be a dogfight for all 3 games. So it definitely kind of sparks your interest a little bit. You're like, well, we'll see what they can do. I don't. I would love Kyle Schwarber. Don't get me wrong. I love everything about what he does. But the Phillies owner pretty much earlier this year, I think during the season, they were like, he's going to do everything in his power. I know the Phillies lost some money, and there's that whole rumor, but I'm very interested to see where he ends up.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating. I would be utterly shocked if he ended up in Pittsburgh. But I will say I would be very scared of the Pirates if they got Schwarber, because if we talked about how the Reds, like, man, there's a team that's like desperate for Kyle Schwarber. The Pirates are even more like just desperate for Kyle Schwarber. Like, he would just fix so many of their problems with one big swing, pun intended. So yeah, interesting to follow. Interesting to see what the Pirates offseason looked like. I would love Bryce at some point for the Reds and Pirates to both be at the top of the division. As I remember back in 2013, it was a lot of fun when those teams were going back and forth. Obviously, the playoff game didn't go well, but the series late in the year, they were fun. They were fun baseball series when both of those towns were really invested in their baseball teams. I would love the Reds and Pirates to kind of renew a rivalry. Little Clint Hurdle, Dusty Baker type thing would be fun. So that'll be interesting. The Pirates also added old friend Christopher Negron to their coaching staff, so
Nice.
something to watch as well. Well, the news kept flying on Tuesday, Bryce. The 2026 Zips projections were, I guess, previewed by Dan Saborski of Fangraphs. I have it, if you're watching on YouTube, I have a very rough graphic that I threw together here at the last minute to show you the changes from 25 to 26. But I'll run through them kind of real quickly. In 2026, out in of course, my little ticker of our times is blocking the chart, so I gotta pull it up here. But in left field, the Reds are projected for 1.5 wins above replacement. That's Lux Benson, Tyler Callahan. That's just minus 0.1 wins above replacement. So not a lot of change in left field. Center field, TJ Friedl is at 2.3. That is also a very insignificant 0.1 change. The most shocking one on here, Bryce, Noelvi Marte is only projected at 0.1. Well, right field is 0.1. That is down almost a full win, down 0.9. Brian Hayes at 2.2. That is a 1.5 win boost. Ellie's down to 4.6. He was at 5 last year. McLean's down to 3.1. That's down from 0. That's down from 4 even last year. And again, I say the player, it's actually the position, but we expect those players to take the bulk of that position. The first base combo of Steer and Stewart at 1.5. That's down 0.3 from last year. The catching, Tyler Stevenson really must have gotten a massive decrease, down to 2.4, the catching combo. That's down over 2 wins, 2.2. The starters, Hunter Greene headlines of 4.0, Singer 2.1, Abbott 2.7, Lodolo 1.7, Burns 1.7, stars overall up 1.1. Then the relievers, you might remember last year, Reds had a negative reliever, and the bullpen, something I think is a big concern for the Reds. Well, the projections are much better. Reds are up to 0.5. They were negative 0.3 a year ago. So I guess, Bryce, the biggest takeaways for me was obviously Noelvi Marte. I feel like he's definitely gonna outperform that. Like, that's the one, like, I would say take that one to the bank. I also still believe in the catchers more than I think Saborski, just because I think so much of that is Tyler Stevenson injury related than anything else. But I tell you, when I see Brian Hayes 2.2, that's the thing that I think a lot of people are sleeping on. I know he's not a sexy offensive player that everyone wants, but he's a winning player. Like defense it can be a winning thing, and I think that increase can be really big over 162 games. What's your biggest takeaways, Bryce?
Yeah, for sure. I think that there's a couple wild cards on the Reds kind of in general. Like if McLean bounces back, like He was a 2-win player last year at a 81 WRC plus. If Matt McLean's a 110 WRC plus guy, like you're talking a really, really good player, like the guy we expected. So I think he's kind of a wild card. I think Marte is still a wild card for me. Like I think Steamer came out already, and they project him at a 99 WRC plus, 1 WAR. So obviously a little bit better than Zips, but I think he can be a guy that can really outperform projections, or he can be on par, it can be under it. So like they definitely have some questions in there. Sal is the same way. I think Steamer had Sal like a 115 WRC plus, the second highest on the team. He's a guy that we could look up in July, and he's got a 130 WRC plus. So like they have some guys that can perform better. They have some guys that can probably perform worse than projections. So um, with projections, as always, take them with a grain of salt. Don't get too worked up about them. Obviously, this is just a good baseline of like, okay, here's kind of the true talent level of the Reds. If everybody's at 50% of what their projections are, here's kind of what that looks like. So um, obviously you're going to have some guys that perform worse, guys that perform better, but it definitely does show you kind of the flaws of this team and where they can improve. And obviously offensive talent's the number one thing that I think we all know needs to be on the forefront for the Reds this offseason.
Yeah. I also don't sleep on the fact that I think Ellie can blow that projection out of the water too.
Yeah.
I mean, he was on pace to be like an 8-win season last year before everything went to crap in July. So he could certainly blow that projection out of the water as well. But overall, I think a fine projection, especially when the Reds haven't really added anyone yet. I don't think I was discouraged at all by that. I think it's better overall than last year at the end of the campaign. So we'll see kind of how the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the offseason shakes out. Uh, Mark Sheldon on Reddit talked a little bit more about Hunter Greene. Obviously, Mark Sheldon was the guy who kind of started the Hunter Greene, not rumors, because he didn't say that the Reds were going to trade him, but he kind of speculated that the Reds could trade him this offseason, and that kind of has fueled every talking point. And there's been other reporters that have said the Reds are shopping him. There's been some that have disputed that. But Mark Sheldon, this is what he said on Reddit. I'm just going to read the full quote here. Sheldon said, "I stand by the story without qualification. It was written from a perspective that was informed by conversations with various team personnels. I carry water for nobody. I also feel that I'm impartial. While I certainly could see that only a player can truly know how hurt or how much discomfort he feels, I will note that very few players are ever feeling 100% once the season starts. The grind of the 162 game schedule means a lot of players play through something. This was a grade 1 groin strain, the least serious of that type." So strong words there from Mark Sheldon on Hunter Greene. I'll say this, I don't love like the whole I don't love the whole just like look of this, even if it's
No.
true. I just don't know why we need to go that far against the guy that's the top Reds projected pitcher by a wide margin next year. But what I will say to Mark is I don't think Mark has just came out of this by himself.
No.
I do think that there's clearly is some frustration with some part of the Reds organization and Hunter Greene. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly who it all is. I have my speculations. I don't know if it's all Tito. I don't know if it's all the front office. I don't know if it's all Derek Johnson. But clearly there is some part, and maybe all the parts, maybe only a tiny bit of the parts, that is clearly frustrated with Hunter Greene. And I don't know. This can go a whole bunch of different ways. If he stays on the Reds, please God, let's clear the air. Let's be adults, and let's all not bring this stuff up again in 2026.
Yeah. I mean, this has definitely been the most frustrating part of kind of everything the whole offseason so far. I mean, we're a month and a half in, and it feels like this is about the only thing we've talked about with the Reds is Green and the different things that have gone on. Like, obviously, Tito's comments rubbed me the wrong way kind of during the season about how he said, I guess he needs to be checked out again or get a second opinion. Like, I don't think anybody can fault the Reds players on wanting to kind of make sure they're good. Like, obviously, we've seen some different things that have come up and some different situations that obviously haven't worked out in the players' favor in regards to injuries. So, like, a guy that has dealt with injuries like Hunter, who has the resources Hunter has, who those different things that are going on, like, if the guy wants to get checked out a little bit more, let him get checked out. Like, I don't understand the fuss about it. And if we all want to be honest with ourselves, the Reds aren't anywhere near the postseason without Hunter. I mean, his September was awesome. He was dynamite. He had the one bad start in Sacramento, but he dominated the Mets. The only reason the Reds had the tiebreaker over the Mets and got them into the playoffs, 12 strikeouts in 7 innings. He threw a complete game shutout against the Cubs at home. He was awesome. I mean, obviously the postseason start, everybody's going to talk about that until the end of time, acting like the Reds were going to somehow beat the Dodgers in that series if Hunter just absolutely just dominated. But I get it. He's going to get the brunt of it because he sucked. But like I don't know. He's just so talented. It feels like no matter what happens with the org, or we just can't seem to get out of our own ways with these talented guys. Like, why are we talking about this? Like, I get it. Like, it's frustrating that Hunter isn't healthy for 35 starts a year. Like, nobody is. Not that many people make 32 starts anymore. It's like this isn't 1990 where guys just pitch no matter what. Like, guys get hurt, guys try to preserve themselves, guys try to do it. Hunter signed a team friendly deal with the Reds. I don't think he has any animosity towards the organization. I think he loves the organization. I think he gives his all when he's out there. Just like you said, I'm ready to move on. Like, if Hunter should be with the organization moving forward, and they should clear the air very quickly, whether that be at Reds Fest, whether that be at whatever they have to do in order to make this right. They need to do it pretty quickly.
I'm not 100% against the idea of trading Hunter Greene, but it better be because you are very concerned about his injury risk, not because of your emotions about it, your actual concrete, you feel like his injury risk is too severe, and you believe, and you have a team that is going to offer a Ketel Marte or something incredible in return. If you're trading him because of the emotional aspect of this, that's asinine to me. I think you should always be listening to offers on every single player. So I'm not ever going to say this guy's untradeable, because I just don't think as a small market you can operate this guy. This guy should be a guy that the other team, their fan base is going to be not. If you trade Hunter Greene, the other fan base that gets him, there should be a large portion of that fan base that's almost like, we give it that much for Hunter Greene. Like, that better be the response that you would get back. That's how I view it. I'm okay with listening. I'm okay with trading him if it's because of the belief in the injury, not because of the emotion of the he shed, she shed, and did he make enough starts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I definitely, like you said, untradeable is a really, really, really heavy term. Like, untradeable means that, like, he's literally one of one. Like Mike Trout in his prime was untradeable. Like, you're not getting anything for Mike Trout that makes sense. Like, obviously, if somebody, like you said, if the Diamondbacks call and offer Ketel Marte and Brandon Pfaadt, like, the Reds would probably be silly not to consider that. Like, that's something that there's definitely people out there and deals out there to be made that it would make teams uncomfortable. It would make Nick Krall uncomfortable, would make Brad Metter uncomfortable, would make the other GM uncomfortable. So, like, those are the type of calls that you got to have in those situations, because obviously he's a superstar when he's going. So those are good thing I don't get paid for those conversations. Let's say that.
Well, we'll continue to follow this story again. If he's on the Reds in 2026, which I hope he is, unless you just get blown away, I hope that this gets put behind the Reds and behind Hunter, and everyone's focused on the most important thing, which is winning baseball games going forward.
Yep. Yep.
Another interesting, our last topic here, Bryce. Appreciate your time. This has gone long, but I've had fun. I hope you've had fun. MLB TV, a new deal with ESPN. MLB TV will be available exclusively through the ESPN app, presumably at an additional cost to subscribers. We don't have all the details on this. When we do, and this is all finalized and all that, I'll do a video like I've done the last couple years explaining how you can watch the Reds on TV and give you the full rundown on this. But Bryce, you're in market. I'm not. So for me, this is a huge deal. And for, I know, a large portion of our listeners who aren't in the Reds market, this is a big deal for you. If you're in the Reds market, this has no impact on you unless you like to watch other baseball games. But I don't know, man. This is not something I love. Is the ESPN app is not anywhere close to the MLB app. And we might also lose our T-Mobile free MLB TV with this. I don't know. This would be a big, big change for baseball. I guess I'd be interested to know what the money looks like. Do teams get more money from this? Do small market teams, I believe they get a higher revenue share of the MLB TV dollars. Do they get some bonus of this? That would be a piece of it. But I don't love this as a guy who would watch my games on this. I hope that if they do it right. And the ESPN app has all the bells and whistles, or at least most of the bells and whistles the MLB app had.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this ESPN is just a monster. I mean, I feel like they're getting everything under them. It's gonna be wild to. I mean, I did obviously I have YouTube TV and did that whole shenanigans kind of back and forth there. So I was happy they got the multi-year deal, so we don't have to deal with that again for at least another couple years here. But yeah, I mean, like you said, the MLB app is perfect. I mean, it's such a good app. They have everything there. So I hope they bring the developers with the MLB app if they're going to bring it on ESPN, because baseball is such a unique game. You have to have like different like things and stats. Baseball people are obsessed with stats and looking at different things like that. And MLB app has everything right there. So hopefully they can streamline it to make it look good.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll certainly see. I mean, there could be some good aspects of this, especially like people who just subscribe to ESPN, especially if it's somehow integrated in that. There could be more people just watching baseball games just because, I have access to these baseball games. So I'm not going to say there's no positive that could come of this, but I'm definitely very cautiously ready to be annoyed is how I'm viewing that. All right, well, Bryce, what we got coming up is we got the non-tender deadline on Friday, November 21st. We'll be watching that. Could Gavin Lux, Will Benson, Sam Moll, any of those players get non-tender? Could the Reds trade any of those players before the non-tender deadline? I know a lot of teams that have guys on the fence, they like to move them, like we talked about with Adolis Garcia before that, because they don't want to have to have the player that they're forced to pay some sort of money to. They don't have to pay the full. I'm not going to go into the whole weeds on that. There's some like 15-day thing in spring training where if they don't last the whole spring training, you don't pay. It's a whole thing, but nonetheless, it's a big deadline, so they'll be watching. And the winter meetings is coming up December 7th through 10th. We'll be certainly locked into coverage. And Bryce, I'll say this every time we do an hour show, there's massive news the next day. So expect a big Wednesday of news from the Reds. That's just how it works around here. But Bryce, any final thoughts from you? Really appreciated having you on. Always love your insight. You do a great job covering the Reds and a great ambassador for our favorite baseball team.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm kind of starting to get back into it. This last month I've been busy with work and this Louisville basketball is good again, so it's fun to kind of take your mind off the Reds a little bit. But as soon as you told me you wanted to do a show, I've been locked into the Reds all day. So it's like they keep bringing me back in. No matter what happens, I'm always going to be here and covering this dang team. So appreciate you having me. It was a lot of fun, and looking forward to, like you said, hopefully a busy Wednesday. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, big game Friday night, Louisville, Cincinnati at Heritage Bank. Obviously, Chatterbox Bearcats to the other side. They'll be live post game after that, so be sure to lock into that. All kinds of other great content here on Chatterbox Sports. Daily shows off the bench, 10 a.m. to noon. Stone Shield show 11 a.m. They have Joe Goodberry. Is that his name? The Bengals, the Bengals on the brain. He's joining us soon. Shields tomorrow. The show starts at 11 a.m. or Wednesday. Today, if you're listening, that is on Wednesday. That show will be a Flying Lion podcast. FC Cincinnati, big matchup this weekend against Messi and Inter Miami. They're going to do a show, I believe, on Wednesday night live on YouTube. That'll be in your podcast feed as well. Links to all that in the episode notes below in your podcast feed. And then if you're on YouTube, just start clicking around. We got all kinds of content for you here at Chatterbox Sports. Thanks again to Bryce. I'm Nick. We will talk again soon as news breaks. Go Reds.